A stabbing aboard a TARC bus captured on video. You see a 14-year-old boy collapse. 2 days later, he's dead. Today, on the heels of a weekend full of teen mob violence,
punches me in my eye, knocks me out,
that some believe is connected to his death. This happens.
The grand jury returned a no true bill on the counts of murder.
The teen's accused killer set free, and many wonder what's coming next.
I think it's going to get worse. I think it's going to get a whole lot worse.
From Louisville, WDRB News at 10 starts now.
Good evening and thanks for joining us, everyone. I'm David Scott. Elizabeth Woolsey is off tonight, and tonight Louisville is a city on high alert. Police patrols are up and officers are closely watching social media. This after the man accused of killing a 14-year-old and assaulting another on a TARC bus is not indicted on any charge. It's the same incident that police say triggered violent mob attacks Saturday night. WDRB's Lindsay Allen begins our team coverage tonight with a look at the surveillance video that led to today's grand jury decision.
A grand jury found that Anthony Allen was acting in self-defense when he fatally stabbed a 14-year-old boy and therefore is protected by the law. Surveillance video from inside this TARC bus the night of March 16th is what Police Chief Steve Conrad calls the true story of what happened. Police got a look at the video just a few days ago and turned it over to the Commonwealth's Attorney's Office. The grand jury was presented the case today.
Our comments to the grand jury were that this would be a very difficult case to prove.
The video captures the moment Anthony Allen gets on the bus. Then you see 14-year-old McQuell Offit wearing the gray sweatshirt get on board with a group of friends. Allen is disruptive, getting into it with the bus driver, upset that he apparently missed two TARC buses earlier that night that just drove by him. Later, Allen and the teens start trading insults. The yelling gets louder and louder. Then Allen asks to get off the bus, but the driver never opens the doors. Police aren't sure why. Shortly after, the fight turns physical.
After the initial verbal sparring between the parties, after Mr. Allen asked to get off of the bus, the one young lady actually struck him at the back part of the bus. He then retreated toward the front. He was trying to tell the bus driver that he had been hit in the mouth.
The whole group gets involved, going after Allen. Somewhere during the altercation, Allen fights back, stabbing a 13-year-old girl and 14-year-old McQuell.
When you view the video, it's clear that there is a retreat on Mr. Allen's part. It is clear that the juveniles initiate the physical altercation. When you apply the law to that, this is what you get.
The law is called the Castle Doctrine in Kentucky.
The law does allow the use of force, including the use of deadly force, to protect your life.
The grand jury was given the option of indicting Allen on the charge of murder, but was also given the option of indicting him on lesser charges if they saw fit. The grand jury decided to return no true bill of indictment, so Allen was released from jail. Community activist Christopher Tueck spoke with McQuell's family after learning the jury's decision.
And I feel that McQuell deserves justice. The law is not going to provide it because of what that videotape shows. And that's not a sellout statement. It's just a factual statement.
But now police are concerned about more violence. Conrad again stated that teens were gathering at Waterfront Park for a vigil to remember McQuell when violence escalated Saturday night. 21 assaults or robberies were documented downtown following the vigil.
We cannot let this awful circumstance that resulted in a young man's death and another young woman's stabbing result in additional violence in this community.
Police will be increasing the number of officers patrolling downtown for the time being. The county attorney will decide if the teen seen assaulting Allen will face any charges. Allen will not be prosecuted further. TARC released a statement saying officials haven't had a chance to closely review the video because it's been in the hands of police, so any adjustments to security haven't been made yet. Lindsay Allen, WDRB News.
Following today's grand jury decision, many in the city are expressing concern. WDRB's Emily Mura picks up our team coverage from there tonight, live from LMPD headquarters. Emily.
David, I talked to community members today who tell me they agree with the decision to release Allen, but in doing so, they're nervous that those teens involved might retaliate.
I think it's going to get out of hand again because they're upset. When kids get together or people start getting upset, of course they're going to start doing something.
Naisha McCubbins was behind the counter at Bader's Food Mart Saturday night when the unruly group of teens came in.
I grabbed my husband and said, go lock the door. It was just too late. It was way too late. They were running in here. I don't even want to go through what we went through Saturday. It was horrible.
McCubbins was happy to hear about the release of Anthony Allen.
If there was no video, he would still be in jail. Because it was 5 against 1, and of course, that's witnesses. If somebody was attacking me and I had a weapon that night, I would have used it.
But she's afraid the other teens involved will act out.
I believe they will, because they believe that the little boy was in no wrong.
Have you been scared since Saturday's incident?
No.
Why?
Why? Because nobody's going to tell. I'm not going to be scared to come to work. I have to pay my bills just like everybody else, and they're not going to run me out of my city.
Meanwhile, police have increased patrols, and others in Louisville have been paying close attention to the recent violence for their own well-being.
People are scared to get on the bus now. Like, you got to worry about getting sucker punched in the face.
The young youth, they are taking over the towns, hurting the innocent ones. And it's ridiculous with guns and stuff.
I think it's going to get worse. I think it's going to get a whole lot worse.
Some believe the violence is increasing because it's young people at the center of it who don't understand the consequences.
Does it scare me? With the young ones, yeah, because they don't know what they could be facing doing this kind of stuff. Some kids run up on me trying to do something. I'm going to give them what they're asking for, too.
Things don't change around here. We're going to start defending ourselves.
City leaders say they're taking this very seriously and they are taking action. WDRB's Chris Turner joins us now live to tell us what was addressed at a public safety meeting today. Chris.
The Public Safety Committee from Metro Council, an emergency meeting called yesterday afternoon for today. It's where we learned that police tonight already are working extra patrols downtown and elsewhere in town, just in case of any adverse reaction to the grand jury's decision not to hand up an indictment in the Tark stabbing case today. And so far from Metro Safe, no mayhem to report. But back to Saturday, council members today called it a new kind of violence rarely seen in Louisville, especially with at least 20 crimes committed in a short time. However, one business owner in the middle of all of it says she sees a problem with large groups weekly. Many Metro Council members fear the perception of downtown Louisville as dangerous is now reality after Saturday's roving mob incidents with at least 20 crimes committed.
If you want the public to feel better about this, they need to see you putting more police on the streets, in cars, on horses, on bicycles, where they can be seen 24 hours a day in the area where this occurred.
I don't know that posting an officer in the park, you know, on a cold, snowy night is maybe the best use of a police officer. But as weather warms up on through the evening, earlier in the mornings when the park is getting more use, I think that absolutely makes sense.
Chief Conrad told the council in an emergency committee meeting that extra officers are working the area and says new surveillance cameras announced Wednesday should be a further deterrent. The owners of Bader's Food Mart downtown said they see incidents like Saturdays regularly, and they call in most, if not all of them. Councilmember James Pete questions.
Through an average summer, how often does a mob situation occur?
Several times a week.
A week?
A week, mostly on the weekends.
However, Conrad produced numbers that show just 8 reports of large crowds causing problems at Bader's in the last 2 years, though not every incident may have generated a written report. Councilmember Jerry Miller noted the city's online crime mapping system shows no crime for the waterfront park area since March 14th. And also, he could not find any mention of a highly publicized assault near Louisville Slugger Field in 2011. Chief Conrad blames a technical problem with the mapping provider. And Conrad also said today that a police officer did not take a report from an assault victim at the Big Four Bridge on Saturday night, but should have. Said that report was taken Sunday. That goes against policy, and the officer has been counseled about that. And Conrad added that overall in town, crime is down in Louisville for the last 2 years. David?
Well, Chris, one council member said today if the city can find money to pay for extra road salt this winter, it should be able to pay the overtime for extra police protection. But then there's the issue of, can the city afford to pay the extra patrols with just a few months left of its current budget? Chris, what did the chief have to say about that?
Well, Conrad says the city can afford it right now. The police department has a bit more than $1 million left in its overtime budget for the fiscal year that ends on June 30th, and that's where the money will come from, rather, to pay these extra officers. And Conrad also said that officers are not being pulled from their regular beats in other parts of town to be assigned downtown, that those officers are staying where they are, and that was a special concern of some council members from South and Southwest Louisville. Reporting live at Metro Police Headquarters with Emily Muir, I'm Chris Turner, WDRB News.
All right, thank you, Chris. And I'm joined now by Louisville Mayor Greg Fisher. Mayor, thanks for joining us tonight. Now, you released a letter to the citizens of Louisville today, trying to reassure them a little bit, telling them about what you're doing to make it safer downtown so they can bring their families. You know, and this is what everybody wants to know. I want to bring my family downtown for an event. I want to come downtown for a nice evening out with my spouse.
Right.
Why should I believe it's going to be safe?
Well, first off, when you take a look at the data, you know, we're one of the safer large cities in America, and crime has been going down for 2 years. That being said, we had some teen violence on Saturday night that everybody's understandably upset about, nobody more so than myself. And this type of behavior is unacceptable. We're not going to tolerate it as a city. The kids that perpetrated it are going to be held accountable. There's going to be consequences to it.
And talk about some of these steps that you're talking about in this letter.
That's the preface, okay? So now how do you deal with it? That's what we want to focus on, our action plan going forward. So first, like you just heard from the chief, we're going to beef up our resources both downtown and at Waterfront Park. Second, we're taking a look at our entire camera system throughout downtown and Waterfront Park also. We're going to be putting 24 cameras in place before thunder over Louisville so we can get any early warning signals if we can. Third, social media is how these kids come together in these large groups. So we're monitoring social media in an enhanced way as well. And we're asking people if they see anything on social media, please let us know as well. And then there's a community outreach part of this as well. We call that through preachers and teachers. So the preachers today from the pulpit tonight, Bible study this afternoon, and on Sunday are going to be speaking to the families. And then through the teachers, through the school, and then tomorrow we're having a meeting with this cohort of kids, boys in one area, girls in other areas. People got to remember, these are middle school kids. Okay, so this teen violence is like something we're not going to put up with. And then also the parents. You know, where are the parents? Where's their responsibility for the children as well? So as we go into the community, we're speaking to them as well.
You've seen some of the social media comments. We had one council member saying that, you know, they're really worried about vigilante justice. You have people all over Facebook and Twitter saying they're going to do whatever they need to do to protect themselves. Or how do you respond to that?
Well, look, now's the time where people are justifiably upset, but you've got to be calm and collected and go about business and let us put in our action plan at the same time. Any type of extreme behavior is not going to be helpful for the city. That's what led to this problem in the first place. So the last thing we need is adults acting that way.
All right. Mayor Greg Fisher, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thank you.
Well, from the Tark attack to Saturday's mob assaults to today's decision, this story has taken several unusual turns over the last 10 days. It was Sunday, March 16th, when 14-year-old McQuell Offit and a 13-year-old girl were stabbed. 44-year-old Anthony Renee Allen was arrested that same evening, charged with 2 counts of assault. 2 days later, on Tuesday, March 18th, Offit died in the hospital from his injuries. That same day, the charges against Allen were upgraded to murder. On Saturday, March 22nd, a group of about 200 teens gathered at Waterfront Park near the Big Four Bridge. That group reportedly came together through social media in memory of the dead 14-year-old. It's that night that things accelerate. The first call came into police at 7:23 p.m. At 7:45, a 13-year-old girl is reportedly being assaulted and robbed, with an adult man coming to her rescue. He's also badly hurt. The teens were dispersed and moved south of the park. Several assaults followed near the White Castle. North First and Market became the next gathering spot, followed by Bader's Market. Near Bader's, a woman, her boyfriend, and her 5 children were waiting at a stoplight when the teens started throwing trash cans at her car, punching her. She was dragged out of her car. She went to Bader's Market for help. That was followed by reported assaults at 3rd and Chestnut, 5th and Broadway, and 6th and Broadway. Police say they responded to at least 20 incidents Saturday night, ranging from assault to vandalism to robbery. In all, 10 people were attacked, 8 of them white, 2 black. Today, a grand jury did not indict Anthony Allen in the Tark stabbings after viewing surveillance video from that initial incident. Taking action now, Louisville's mayor released a letter to citizens saying what he's doing to protect residents. That includes installing 24 security cameras in Waterfront Park. In addition, LMPD is now working directly with Jefferson County Public Schools to identify the 200 youth involved.